Hello and welcome to my channel. This is part 3 of my new player series for the Guardian profession. This is an introduction for new and returning players in the hope of saving them many hours of research on the Guild Wars 2 wiki, not a deep dive into the meta endgame. If you missed the start of the series, you can click on the card in the top right hand corner of the screen to jump to part 1, where we covered the profession's archetype, history and overall game style. In part 2, we looked at the Guardian's unique abilities and utility slot skills. Now, here in part 3, we will showcase all the Guardian's current weapons and their mechanics, so let's jump into it. There are 12 possible weapon set options for the Guardian and 2 weapon options for aquatic combat. At level 15, you gain access to weapon swap, found here on your unit interface. This allows you to alternate between equipped weapons. I always recommend binding weapon swap to an easily accessible key, as you will need to use it a lot. Unlike most MMOs, Aquatic Combat has dedicated weapons only used in that game type. The spear is a close-range weapon which offers relatively high damage output whilst applying vulnerability to your target. It has both a rapid and blinding attack and offers evasive positioning mechanics. The trident is a long-range weapon that can provide area of effect projectile absorption, as well as offering group healing and condition removal. Both weapons have a crowd control mechanic on their skill 5 that are great for breaking defiance bars in PvE combat. Aquatic combat has been phased out since the Heart of Thorns expansion. They have culled this type of combat from most of the game's new areas and are no longer creating new models for these weapons. I hope in future expansions they will use aquatic areas for exploration, treasure hunting and storytelling, but there is little hope at present that this type of combat will be re-examined and balanced. Development has been focused around PvE and PvP, and it's arguable that these efforts will have more value to the player base than tweaking a combat system that was not well liked by the community. Let's take a look at the two-handed options for the Guardian. Starting with Greatsword, which offers close-range melee damage output with mid-range AoE, crowd control and retaliation. Skill 1 is a 3-chain cleave attack, hitting up to 3 targets in a range of 130, taking 2.5 seconds to complete the chain cycle. With Strike and Vengeful Strike inflicting the same flat damage, and Wrathful Strike hitting harder and granting 5 seconds of might for each target struck. Skill 2, Whirling Wrath, can hit up to 5 targets at both 130 and 600 range. It has both melee and projectile components, with projectiles flying out in all directions, so there is a fair chance that not all will connect with your intended target. You can move forward whilst spinning, but at a slowed pace. The projectiles are at ground level, so pay attention to the environmental terrain, as your attacks can miss due to uneven ground or simply being at a different elevation than your target. Skill 3, Leap of Faith, is just what it says, a leap skill, hurling you towards your target, and when you are not targeting, simply moving you forward at greater speed. It inflicts flat damage on up to 5 target and blinds them for 3 seconds. Many players use these skill types to traverse maps faster, but you can get caught out if you have not ensured auto-targeting is deselected. When this option is selected, the game will automatically select a valid target within the skill's range, sending you off course and often hampering your progress. This skill can also be used to jump over obstacles and leap gaps. Skill 4, Symbol of Wrath, can hit up to 5 targets 5 times and grants 1 second of retaliation, reflecting incoming damage back to its source. The skill duration is 4 seconds. We covered this skill in part 2 when we looked at symbols. There is a link to that video at the top right hand side of your screen for anyone wanting a refresher. The symbol created by this skill pulses 5 times, with each pulse dealing damage and applying 1 second of retaliation, which is also granted to your allies inside the symbol's radius. Skill 5, Binding Blades, hurls blades at your foe, causing damage over time to up to 5 targets. Affected targets can be pulled towards you by clicking the skill a second time. You can see here the skill icon changes, indicating this option is available. The skill range of this crowd control is 600 and can hit stealthed enemies, but is evadable. The Greatsword is a popular option for its strong damage output and versatile mechanics, and sees wide use in almost all game types. The Zeal trait, Zealous Blade, grants an additional 5% damage when using a Greatsword, and a modest amount of healing on you when you are attacking. It also reduces the recharge rate of Greatsword skills by 20%. The hammer is often overlooked, but offers strong damage with good protection potential as well as crowd control abilities. From a Fashion Wars point of view, Mjolnir, a Mystic Forge created weapon, offers one of the most stunning skins in the game and is the skin you will see me using in this demonstration. Skill 1 is a 3-chain cleaving attack which can hit up to 3 targets. Hammer Swing and Hammer Bash deal the same flat damage, with its final attack, Symbol of Protection, creating a mystic symbol at your feet, offering 1 second of protection to up to 5 allies stood in its radius of 180. The symbol lasts for 2 seconds and also damages foes inside its radius as the symbol pulses. This chain attack takes 3.7 seconds to complete its cycle. Skill 2, Mighty Blow, can hit up to 5 targets and is a leap. You hurl yourself towards your target at a maximum range of 300. The skill damage radius is 180 and its unmodified damage output is 706 to each target hit. Skill 3, Zealot's Embrace, is an immobilizer which can affect up to 5 targets with a range of 1200. Those affected are unable to move for 2 seconds. The skill creates piercing projectiles at ground level, so again you need to be aware of terrain so your attacks are effective. Skill 4, Bash, is a close range single target attack which can launch your enemy away from you. The range of the launch is 750. This skill has a very obvious animated tail, so can be evaded by attentive foes. This skill does work on downed players, so you can use it to punt enemy players off point while in PvP. Finally, Skill 5, Ring of Warding, covered again in Part 2, creates a ring around you that enemies cannot cross and trapped enemies cannot exit. Its effect can be mitigated using Stunbreaker skills and stability. The skill lasts for 5 seconds and the ward radius is 180. Please note you cannot move while casting it or the skill will be interrupted. All hammer skills benefit from the Glacial Heart trait found in the Virtues line. This trait increases the critical hit chance of all hammer skills by 50% and reduces their recharge rate by 20%. Staff is another often overlooked weapon. It's not strong in terms of damage output, but for large-scale PvE zergs, it's brilliant for tagging targets and harvesting loot bags. Consider the staff as a support weapon which offers mid-range AoE attacks and gives healing and boons to you and your allies. Skill 1, Wave of Wrath, hits up to 5 targets and is your Loot Pinata skill. The skill animation is deeply uninspired, but effective for its main purpose, multi-tagging. Skill 2, Orb of Light, creates an orb of light that damages up to 5 enemies and heals allies it touches. Once cast, the skill icon changes, allowing you to cast it a second time to detonate the orb to heal nearby allies in a radius around the detonated area of 240. This skill can be caught out by terrain too, so please keep that in mind. You should note orb skills take 4 times longer to recharge if detonated. Skill 3, Symbol of Swiftness, is a ground targeted skill which grants 4 seconds of swiftness to up to 5 allies in the targeted area. Enemies caught inside the symbol take damage as the symbol effect ticks out 5 bursts of damage during its 4-second duration. To receive the full 4 seconds of swiftness, you must stay inside the symbol radius for its full duration, and the same applies to the full effect of its damage. Skill 4, Empower, is a channeled skill which grants 12 stacks of might to yourself and allies around you. At the end of its cast, you will also heal nearby allies. This skill can affect up to 5 targets and grants 4 stacks of might 3 times during its channel, which lasts for 10 seconds. Moving while channeling will interrupt its cast. Skill 5, Line of Warding, is a ground targeted skill which creates a blue flaming line which enemies cannot cross without using skills like Stability. It can be cast at 1200 range and endures for 5 seconds. The trait Honourable Staff, found in the Honour line, reduces the recharge on all staff skills by 20% and increases the duration of boons you grant whilst wielding the staff by 20%. On to the 3 main hand weapon options. The Mace is another support type weapon which provides AoE regeneration and blocking. Skill 1 is a 3-chain cleave skill hitting up to 3 targets with each attack. True Strike and Pure Strike are both close range flat damage melee attacks. The final hit is Faithful Strike, which offers close range healing to up to 5 allies, as well as offering higher damage than True and Pure Strike. Skill 2, Symbol of Faith, creates a symbol at your feet which damages foes up to 5 times whilst it endures. It also grants regeneration on allies, healing them. Both the damage and healing effect only occur inside the symbol's radius of 180. Skill 3, Protector's Strike, creates a 180 radius shield at your location. Inside its radius, allies gain 3 seconds of protection and 6 seconds of Aegis. This can affect up to 5 allies. Enemies who strike protected allies take area of effect damage which can hit up to 5 targets. When an attack is blocked, the shield dissipates. The trait Invigorated Bulwark, found in the Honour line, reduces the recharge of all your Mace skills by 20%. It also increases healing power by 50 for 30 seconds each time you successfully block an attack whilst wielding the Mace. This healing boost can stack 10 times. Sceptre is an offensive long-range spell slinger which can immobilize enemies and grant might to you and your allies. Skill 1, Orb of Wrath, creates a slow-moving orb which deals single target flat damage. The damage only triggers when the orb hits your target, so standing closer will increase the rate at which you damage your enemy as the distance the orb must travel is reduced. Skill 2, Symbol of Punishment, is a ground targeted skill which creates a symbol at the targeted location. Inside the symbol's radius of 180, enemies are struck up to 8 times in its 4-second duration, and this can affect up to 5 targets. For allies inside the symbol's radius, they gain might up to 8 stacks for 5 seconds. Finally, Skill 3, Chain of Light, is a ranged attack which also immobilizes a single target for 2 seconds and applies vulnerability to them for 6 seconds with its ethereal chains. The Zeal trait, Zealous Sceptre, allows the Guardian, whilst wielding a sceptre, to generate 2 might for 10 seconds every time the passive effect of Judgment triggers. This passive generation can be triggered by any skill as long as you are holding the sceptre. The final main hand weapon is Sword, which is a close-range melee that offers both offensive and defensive mechanics, as well as a handy gap-closing teleport skill. Skill is a close-range 3-chain flat damage melee cleave, which can hit up to 3 targets. Sword of Wrath and Sword Arc both hit for flat damage, with the final strike, Sword Wave, unleashing a 3-strike melee attack, hitting enemies directly in front of you in a single blow. Skill 2, Symbol of Blades, is a gap-closing teleport with a 600 range. It also blinds up to 5 targets in its symbol's radius of 180. It also grants 1.5 seconds of Fury 2. Skill 3, Zealot's Defense, has both damage and defensive mechanics. This rapid attack skill creates magical ground-based projectiles which can hit up to 8 times during its channel. This skill also provides a 3-second block, but all the mechanics of this skill can be interrupted by moving during its channel. The Radiance trait, Right Hand Strength, benefits all sword skills by increasing their critical hit chance by 15%, and reducing the recharge rate on all sword skills by 20%. Please note all main hand weapons also benefit from the critical hit boost of this trait. Onwards to the Guardian's 3 offhand weapons. Focus is a support weapon that offers both offensive and defensive skills as well as condition removal. Skill 4, Ray of Judgment, has both offensive and defensive mechanics, as the Ray of Light bounces between 4 allies and/or foes. Enemies receive flat damage, which also blinds them for 3 seconds. Allies gain 3 seconds of regeneration and have a condition removed. Skill 5, Shield of Wrath, creates a shield which blocks the next 3 incoming attacks within its duration of 4 seconds. If the shield is not destroyed, it explodes, damaging up to 5 targets in a radius of 240. The Valor trait, Focus Mastery, reduces the recharge time of focus skills by 20% and also offers 4 seconds of protection when using focus skills. The shield is a support weapon which gives defense against AoE projectiles and offers protection to the Guardian and their allies. Skill 4, Shield of Judgment, creates a wave of protection and Aegis which can aid up to 5 allies. You and they gain 4 seconds of protection and 4 seconds of Aegis in a range of 600. This skill also damages up to 5 enemies, as the wave also deals flat damage. Skill 5, Shield of Absorption, is a channeled skill that creates a dome around you that repels foes and absorbs projectiles. Its skill icon changes on activation to allow you to detonate the dome to heal nearby allies. The Valor trait, Stalwart Defender, reduces the recharge time of shield skills by 20%. It also grants the Guardian 240 additional toughness whilst wielding a shield. The final offhand weapon is Torch, and it is classified as an offensive weapon that burns enemies whilst offering cleanses to allies. Skill 4, Zealot's Flame, engulfs you in blue flames, which periodically apply 3 seconds of burning to up to 3 targets in a 180 radius around you. On activation, the skill icon changes, allowing you to use the skill a second time to transfer the Zealot's Flame to your enemies, burning them for an additional 6 seconds. This skill is unblockable. Skill 5, Cleansing Flame, allows the Guardian to breathe magical fire that damages foes in its path. It can hit up to 3 targets and pulses 9 times. Allies caught in the flames have a condition cured. The range of this skill is 400, and you should note that the condition cure only affects allies and not you. For Heart of Thorns players who have unlocked and equipped the Dragonhunter specialization, you have access to an additional 2-handed weapon. The Longbow offers long-ranged AoE attack as well as crowd control effects, which utilize ground targeting and aimed shots. All Longbow skills have a range of 1200. Skill 1, Puncture Shot, can hit up to 2 targets with flat damage. It can bounce from your main target to a second target stood behind at close range. If the arrow does hit a second target, all enemies struck are crippled for 2 seconds. Skill 2, True Shot, is a channeled skill which can hit up to 5 targets in a line of travel behind your first target, causing flat damage. Skill 3, Deflecting Shot, is a directed skill which blinds enemies for 4 seconds and destroys projectiles. Destroyed projectiles increase your damage dealt by 100%. This skill is unblockable and can hit up to 5 targets. Skill 4, Symbol of Energy, launches an arrow which explodes, applying 2 stacks of burning for 5 seconds on up to 5 targets in the skill's radius. For allies stood inside the symbol radius, they gain Vigour. The symbol pulses 5 times during its 4-second duration. Skill 5, Hunter's Ward, transforms your arrows into a magical barrier, dealing damage to enemies caught inside its targeted location. The attacks cripple for 2 seconds, and its final impact causes additional damage. Enemies caught inside this attack when it finishes are tagged with Hunter's Mark. The mark surrounds the target with ethereal chains, pulling those marked backwards when they try to leave the affected area. So that's all the Guardian's currently available weapons. I hope this guide has helped you better understand their mechanics and inspires you to jump in and give this brilliant profession a try. When the next expansion arrives, I will be making a dedicated video for its new specialization and associated weapon, and I really can't wait for that. In part 4, we will talk about specializations and currently viable builds for each game type. Finally, part 5 will be a real community love fest as we fashion wars the hell out of the Valiant Guardian with screenshots and images from you lovely viewers. And of course, no guide would be complete without veteran players sharing their hard-won insights, tips and opinions. If you are thinking of joining the Guild Wars 2 community, there are referral links below to both the free-to-play game and the Heart of Thorns expansion. Thanks to the generosity of ArenaNet, these referrals directly support my channel. I also want to give a shout out to all my amazing patrons. You guys help me more than you know, and I cannot thank you enough. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and a thumbs down if you didn't. And as always, thanks for watching.